Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivadikacharya Stotra Srimad Apai Charanaravinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivadikacharya Stotra Srimad Srila Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnavi Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Gaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaur Bhaktivedanta Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopinath Shamakund Radhakund Giri Govardhana Ki Jai. Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Shri Mayapur Navadip Dham Ki Jai. Shri Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai. Tulsi Devi Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Jamuna Devi Ganga Devi Ki Jai. Samveda Bhaktivedanta Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bo. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Shinoshi Ayur Lavad Yavaya Vaishinoshi Kutasta Atma Paramastyajo Mahams Tvam Jiva Lokasya Cha Jiva Atma Tvameva Kalo Nimisho Jananam Ayur Lavad Yavayai Shinoti Kutasta Atma Parameshtyajo Mahams Tvam Jiva Lokasya Cha Jiva Atma Ameva Kalo Nimisho Jananam Ayur Lavad Yavayai Shinoti Kutosta Atma Paramestyajo Mahams Tvam Jiva Lokasya Cha Jiva Atma Tvameva Kalo Nimisho Jananam Ayur Lavadya Vayavai Shinoti Kutasta Atma Paramestyajo Mahans Tvam Jiva Lokasya Cha Jiva Atma Tvameva Kalo Nimisho Jananam Ayur Lavadya Yavayai Shinoti Kutosta Atma Paramestyajo Mahams Tvam Jiva Lokasya Cha Jiva Atma. So once is enough. One time each. Tvam. You. Eva. Indeed. Kalaha. Unlimited time. Animishaha. Unblinking. Jananam. Of all living entities. Ayu. The duration of life. Lavadi. Consisting of seconds, moments, minutes, and hours. Avayavai. By different parts. Shinoshi. Reduce. Kutasta. without being affected by anything. Atma, the Supersoul. Parameshti, the Supreme Lord. Ajaha, the Unborn. Mahan, the Great. Tvam, you, Jiva Lokasya, of this material world. Cha, also. Jivaha, the cause of life. Atma, the Supersoul. Translation: O my Lord, your Lordship is eternally awake, seeing everything that happens. As eternal time, you reduce the duration of life for all living entities through your different parts, such as moments, seconds, minutes, and hours. Nonetheless, you are unchanged, resting in one place as the Supersoul, Witness and Supreme Lord, the birthless, all-pervading Controller, who is the cause of life for all living entities. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. In this verse, the word kutastha is very important. Although the Supreme Personality of Godhead is situated everywhere, He is the central unchanging point. Ishvara sarvabhutanam hridaya arjuna tishtati. The Lord is situated in full in the core of everyone's heart. As indicated in the Upanishads by the word ekatvam, although there are millions and millions of living entities, the Lord is situated as the Supersoul in every one of them. Nonetheless, He is one in many. As stated in the Brahma Samhita, Advaitam Achutam Anadim Ananta Rupam. He has many forms, yet they are Advaita, one and unchanging. Since the Lord is all-pervading, He is also situated in eternal time. The living entities are described as parts and parcels of the Lord because He is the life and soul of all living entities, being situated within their hearts as the Antaryami, as enunciated by the philosophy of inconceivable oneness and difference, Achintya Bheda Bheda. Since the living entities are part of God, they are one in quality with the Lord. Yet, they are different from Him. The Supersoul, who inspires all living entities to act, is one and changeless. There are varieties of subjects, objects, and activities, yet the Lord is one. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayambrupa Katahmayam Didati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Yuta Parakamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvetam Sadvadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakanvitanscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vansha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Go Premanande Hari Hari Bo. The first very important point, as Prabhupada says, is the concept of kutastha, which says that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is situated everywhere. And He's the central unchanging point. This is the vision of the transcendentalist who is trained and inspired in the disciplic line of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to understand that the Lord is the source of everything, Janmadya Sayataha, and that He has unlimited energies. Parasya Shaktir Vivadaiva Shuyate, Bhavita Jnana Bala Kriyacha. There's a way in which Jiva Goswami explains, and he's explaining the philosophy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, that in order to understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one must accept His inconceivable energies and potencies. This is the meaning of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, that He is the source of everything and He's the source of all energies, which are working in inconceivable ways. So one of the ways in which these energies are working is that the Lord expands Himself and enters the heart of every living entity and is giving guidance to the soul. Asau gunamayer bhavir bhuta sukshmendriyatmabi swa nirmiteshu nirvishto punkte bhuteshu tad gunat. At the beginning of creation, the Lord manifests the material universes and the living entities who are within that material creation. For these living entities who are within the material creation, the Lord also makes the subtle and gross bodies. And He provides this subtle body so that the living entity can experience the objects of the senses in this world. And He also reminds the living entity of what his previous desires were, because at the end of creation, all living entities are drawn back within the body of Mahavishnu. And at the beginning of the next creation, when Mahavishnu exhales, Yasyaika nishvasitakala matavalamya jivanti loma vilaja jagadananata Vishnur mahansa ihayasya kala vishesho govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami. He's exhaling and the entire creation is manifest along with the living entities who are mixed up in it. And when He inhales, the cosmic manifestation is again amalgamated and inhaled into the body of Mahavishnu, where the living entities stay in a state of dreamless sleep until they're exhaled again into the cosmic manifestation. At the time of the creation, the Lord reminds the living entities of what their previous desires were so they could take up again on their path of eternal karma, of trying to enjoy in the material world. And this is a revelation for those who come to spiritual life, that the Lord is the closest one to us. Yadejati tanaijati tadure tadvantike tarantarasya sarvasya taru sarvasya sibayadaha. The Lord is far away, but He is very near as well. He is within everything, and yet He is outside of everything. That this is His inconceivable potency. And also, as kutastha, this is a great boon in understanding for a spiritual practitioner, and that is that Krishna is there with me within the heart. And He's not only with me, but He's fully accommodating to whatever my particular desire is. So devotees know that if they reform their desires through the process of sadhana, especially through the 5 practices that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said were effective even if one's not entirely or fully connected with them, and even if one's faith is non-existent, even if one has connection with them a little bit, that one will prepare the heart for devotional desires. Since Krishna is fulfilling all desires, as mentioned also in the Sri Upanishad, Saparya Gachchukram akayam avranam asnaviram shuram apapavidham kavirmanishi paribhu swayambur yatat yatyator tan vyaradashashvati bhya samabhyaha. That he's self-sufficient, and he's mentioned as Kavi, he knows everything. And he's also been fulfilling the living entity's desires since a time immemorial. Therefore, knowing that Krishna is the source of everything and that he responds to his devotees' desires, devotees are particularly careful to think about Krishna and to reform their desires to be in line with devotional service. For instance, it is a sign of advancement for one to desire to hear about Krishna. This is mentioned by Jiva Goswami as the main indicator of someone who is advancing in devotional service, and that is that he or she has a strong desire to hear about Krishna. If one has a strong desire to hear about Krishna, then Krishna will make an arrangement so that one can be in the association of those who are speaking about Krishna. And to any degree, whatever one desires in the service of Krishna, Krishna will fulfill. Now, what's being mentioned here also is the time factor. There's 3 phases to the time factor, and that's past, present, and future. They're one, but they have variety at the same time. There's a way in which time is eternal. It's actually a manifestation of Krishna. However, it's divided into various sections, which Prahlad Maharaj describes in his prayers to be the Ashtitarvo effect, the seed and the tree. Which one came first? Who can say? It's an eternal process. In fact, the creation itself, although it's manifested in phases of time, sometimes it's extant and other times it is uppercut. It's not manifest. Still, that creation is eternal. There's a code for the creation of everything in the material world that's given to Brahma at the time of creation. And Brahma simply enacts those codes and recreates what has always been there. This is one of the contentions of our great scientist who passed away. What's his name? The Sadaputa Prabhu, who was mentioning how people try to speculate about how there's evolution, and they see that kinds of elements like radiators and the engine block is very similar from one car to the next. You don't reinvent the whole thing. So it moves, that the same ideas go from one to the next. And he also pointed out that the ways in which the material creation is manifest are already there within these codes that are simply manifest by Brahma, by his speaking the mantras and then recreating the universe. It's the same each time. Once the universal creation starts, Brahma recreates it, and the living entities then start interacting again with the material nature. So the Ashtitarvo, it means the seed in the tree. The seed already has its code. It knows what it needs to do, and it creates the tree, and then the tree creates more seeds, and then there's a circular effect that's going on in the material world. So devotees who realize this see that the material world, as Krishna says in the Gita, is constantly being created and then annihilated. Bhutva bhutva praliyate. But he says, beyond this material creation, parastasmat tubhavo nyo vyakto vyaktat sanatanaha yaksak sarveshu bhuteshu nashyatsu navinashati. Besides the creation that's intermittent, it's in the various phases of time. past, present, and future is being manifest, and then non-manifest, becoming non-manifest, there is an eternal feature, which is the spiritual world, that doesn't undergo any of the destruction of the material world. And this is, as Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, this is his own abode. So the goal of the devotee then becomes to extricate himself from the changing material world. And Krishna mentions this early on in the Bhagavad Gita, that one should observe for oneself how the changes are going on, and then become undisturbed by knowing that they're superfluous to our actual nature. Just as Krishna's kutastha, the living entity, is similarly stable. The living entity doesn't change, despite the fact that the material nature changes. So Prabhupada often quotes the famous verse, Dehinosmin yata dehe komaran yuvaranjara tata dehantara praptir tiras tatra namuyati. That the body is undergoing changes from boyhood to youth to old age, and then the soul has to change into another body at death, or the body is annihilated, but the soul then takes on another body at the time of death. This is forgotten by conditioned souls. One identifies with whatever particular body one has now and thinks this is me, due to a false ego. But when one leaves the body, one is forced to leave this present body, it's a very traumatic experience. Recently, when I was in San Francisco, I went to a large corporation called Salesforce, and I brought with me for my talk a changing bodies exhibit. And it's a physical relief of showing the baby's body. It's made out of modeled clay or something like that. And I was carrying it into the lobby, and just as I brought it in, I put it down to register to get a badge to go into the meeting room, and people started stopping to take pictures of it. And as I carried it up on the elevator, everyone who looked at it, which is representative of the different phases of time. As Madhvacharya says, that these phases of time, he said, there's a tree and there's a tree on fire. It's the same tree, but it's at different stages of its existence. So when one sees this image of the entire sequence of changes that a living entity goes through in the various bodies, through the different phases of time, in one place, it's a stark revelation. But this is the kind of perspective that Krishna says that we should maintain and understand, to see that I'm only witnessing the body going through changes, and therefore I should become dhira, not bewildered by changes. It's an actual relief to accept change, and that the suffering that I experience in this world has to do with my holding on to what I think is supposed to be permanent, but it's not. Nasato vidite bhavo, na bhavo vidite sata, ubaryo api drushton tas tvanios tattvadarshibhi. One who's clearly seeing the truth, the reality of the world, and that is that we're in a temporary changing world, and that we're categorically different from that world. And one learns to distinguish oneself from that changing world. Psychologically, one then can detach oneself from the changes of the material world and not overreact to them. And Prabhupada in that context quotes, Te anukampam sumikshamano punjana evatma kritam vipakam. And that is that if one understands that if one is engaged in devotional service to any degree, he can expect Krishna's mercy, because Krishna is observing the living entity, waiting for an opportunity to fulfill his desires. And if those desires are even slightly devotional, Krishna moves heaven and earth to make sure that those become manifest in his life. So the devotee thinks like that because I'm endeavoring for devotional service, because I'm sincerely trying, I am expecting Krishna's mercy. I'm not sure when, but I'm willing to wait. This is what the verse means. That I'll wait as long as it takes. I'll be patient, because I know that his mercy will come to me. And Bhunjane evatma kritam vipakam, his perspective is also that whatever changes I'm experiencing in my life because of my previous activities in the material world. And he goes on, Hridvagbapurvir vididam namaste. He offers obeisances to the words of the Bhagavatam. Hridvagbapurvir, within his heart, he keeps the message of Bhagavatam. He offers obeisances to the speech of the Bhagavatam. And with his body, he engages in service to Krishna and the Bhagavatam. And then, very succinctly, it is said, and understanding that this is not a bad domination, for the devotees understand this is Krishna, it's his mercy. He's moving me along in the material world. And one should understand that if one sincerely tries to practice devotional service, that the fruit of that practice will manifest in due course of time. Prabhupada, it took him over a decade to be able to accept initiation from his spiritual master. And then, when he left for America to fully enact his mission, he was in old age. And then he met all kinds of devotees like Brahmananda and Achyutananda and Gargamuni, and people started coming together, and then whatever happened. It all began to manifest. So Prabhupada was reminiscing, and he said, who knew that I would come here to the United States? Who knew that I would meet all of you? Who knew that you would take up devotional service? And these are the wonderments of the practice of devotional service, that as one goes on practicing with patience, Krishna will manifest the various facilities that one needs to advance in devotional service and to help spread the Krishna consciousness movement all over the world. Time becomes the great ally of the devotee, because he knows time is Krishna and time is on my side, because Krishna is on my side, because I'm a devotee. And he also knows, says Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita, does the devotee, that he doesn't have to be in anxiety about the time factor. For instance, at the end of the Bhagavad Gita chapter 8, which is about leaving the body. How does one successfully leave the body and remember Krishna at the end? And Krishna mentions that whatever you think of when you leave the body, that you'll attain without fail. And he also says that whatever good or bad situations you're ending up in the material world are due to the state of your consciousness when you leave the body. And then he says that there are some who study the way time works in the material world, and they very specifically try to leave the world at a particular time, because when there's brightness in the universe at a particular time, and one leaves the body at that time, then one can attain liberation. If one leaves at the wrong time, during the dark portion of the universe, then one ends up coming back to the material world. But Krishna says that the devotees, they understand these various ways of leaving the body, as many yogis, the ways in which many yogis calculate to leave their body, but they're not concerned about it, because they understand that time is on their side, that because they're engaged in Krishna's service, whatever time they leave the body, it's up to Krishna. And that Krishna will preserve their devotional service and put them in the right situation. Naite sriti parta janam yogi muyati kashana tasmat sarvishu kalishu yoga yukto bhavarjana. Because the devotee is always engaged, connecting everything with Krishna in his or her life, he or she knows that Krishna will arrange the right time for the devotee to leave the world. And even if it's not the right time, Krishna will make up for it. He'll be there to protect the devotee. Now we'll take a few reflections. Anything that you heard so far that you want to reflect back? Yes?
Yeah, I really like the point you made about, I think Madhvacharya brought it up, that you have to see the changes of time, the bigger picture, because if we just look at one second, there's a pattern here, and I'm caught in it, so maybe it's good to take a step back and see that kind of sequence in all the different phases of life that we're going through, not just related to time, but in all the different relationships that we acquire or things that come and leave us in this world, to just see this whole cycle of beginning, middle, and end.
So if I understand you correctly, whatever encounters we have in this world, we can create our own changing bodies. Loses its appeal. And whatever one observes. In fact, we can, the other day we quoted a verse from the 11th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, in which Krishna says, Shruti pratyaksham aitiyam anumanam chatushtayam pramaneshvanavastanad vikalpatsa virajite. In this verse, Krishna says that you should use all that you can to see in this way that you're mentioning. See that the world is anavastanad. Here we're talking about kutasta. And in this verse that I'm quoting, anavastanad, it means that it's not stable. The material is not stable. The thing higher planetary systems, if they're not quite high enough, every day of Brahma, when the universe is destroyed, only partially, they have to get on airplanes and fly to higher ground, to higher areas. Kind of like people in, the path of hurricane, whatever it was, Irma, and then, what was the other one? Harvey? Those, you can see it happens in this world, it happens in the universe also. Then there are complete destructions. What's the third before it comes to? There's liberation, but there's also what's called continuous destruction. That's happening at every second. There's entropy in this world. The cells are deteriorating. Whatever I have, it starts to fall apart the second I get it. And so Krishna says, be aware of that. So Navina Nirada Prabhu's proposition is very helpful. We can actually apply it wherever we go.
That is correct. How the color reduces the color of human.
How does kala what?
Kala tum kala hai. So janarang ayu. Lobadi avyavi khinos. Kala khinos. Kala wanted time, and the ayu also time. How the time reduces the time.
Every entity in this world, as explained in the Sri Upanishad, Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vishishyate. every entity has a limited time factor that comes along with it, a limited warranty, and it runs its course, and then it becomes non-manifest again. For instance, every body, we get these bodies as a gift of nature. Labvam sudurlamabidam bahusambhavante. It's very difficult. You can't order it up. It's just given to you by the material nature. But it has an expiration date, an exact expiration date. And that's part of the Lord's mercy. He applies that to all of the entities in the material world. It has a beginning and an end. Good to keep in mind. Yes?
So I was appreciating this point of reading Bhagavatam here, that the devotee actually uses these three things, their mind or heart, voice, and body, to serve the Bhagavatam. I thought that was a very nice reflection, and also connected to the earlier point that Jiva Goswami says that your taste for Krishna Katha equals your level of Krishna consciousness. And I was trying to connect this because I had a conversation with one devotee where I said, you know, my idea was because we're seeing that on a platform like Facebook, devotees generally don't engage in Krishna Katha and put as many likes and, you know, comments on the post as they do about like controversies in the movement. That means that they have less taste in Krishna Katha than they do in other kind of, you know, non-Krishna Katha or corollary, secondary ideas. And I used Jiva Goswami's pramanam to back this up, that if you actually have a taste for Krishna Katha, that means you're advanced. His pramanam was, his idea was that, well, if people are talking about how to preach better, you know, leaving aside you just like Prajalpa, but if they're talking about how to preach better,
and the other tends to start to agitate the mind in different ways. And I think it's important to note that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu specifically heard from the Bhagavatam.
So self-evident that oftentimes the need to comment or to elaborate may not even arise because it is so satisfying. It is so complete in and of itself. So just the lack of, you know, comments to those pure Krishna Katha posts, I don't think that shows that there is less taste for that. If people actually read them, that is. So sometimes it's just, oh, okay, that's wonderful.
But if there's 1/10 the number of likes,
okay, well.
By practicing devotional service, the result is sure and certain, as Prabhupada says. Know that it will come, and just be patient and go on. Te anukampam susamikshamano bunjana ivatmakritam vipakam. Whatever's happening, just keep doing your devotional service. You can see this in ordinary activities also. If you stay steady, we notice always when we're walking around Govardhana, especially if we're racing people, we notice that when somebody stops, they take a break, they get way behind. But if you just stay steady and you just keep walking, you know, you'll come around. Everything happens in due course of time if you're careful to stay on the path and keep the devotional process going. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, commenting on the 6th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam regarding the chanting of the holy names in Ajamil, says that the fruit of the chanting will come just like a fruit comes on a tree. You can't force the fruit to come early. It takes time. It takes its own time, was his point. And similarly, Krishna manifests the result of devotional service in each individual in due course of time. Is sure, is certain, but you have to wait until that time that Krishna makes it manifest within you. And he has his own reasons, and as usual, good reasons therefore manifesting that when he decides the time is right.
Some question
Yes?
is, suppose like told that that is also the second sloka of Brahma Sutra. First is the Artha Brahma second to Janma Jata. But one thing, Nasto Vidate Bhava is the Gita. Now it is one question. Nasto Vidate Bhava. When the cause is permanent and the effect is permanent. When the cause is temporary, the
from Krishna by our own consciousness. And therefore, by that we become overwhelmed by ignorance when we're separated from Krishna. So the energies are categorically different. And how we interact with those energies makes all the difference. For instance, even as we're dealing with the temporary energy of the material world, Krishna says, Brahmarpanam Brahmahavir, Brahmagnau Brahmanohutam, Brahmaiva Tena Gantavyam, Brahma Karma Samadhina. That if in the course of dealing with the temporary material energy, one engages it in Krishna's service, seeing it as belonging to Krishna, then it resumes its original spiritual quality because it's reconnected. And that is the main technique of Krishna consciousness. Anasaktasya vishayan yatarham upayunjita nirbandha Krishna sambandhe yuktam vairagyam uchate prapanchikataya budya hari sambandhi vasana mumukshabi prityago vairagyam palgukatyate. That one must engage everything in Krishna's service, and if one renounces the material world, saying that it's temporary, and doesn't see its connection with okay. Depends if you want a longer breakfast, a longer time after breakfast, or anyway. Okay, so today is 11 till 1,
I was just saying,
and
this is what you announced in the morning.
3 to 6, correct? 11 to 1, 11 to 1, and 3:30 to 6:30. Okay. And we thank everyone who's joined us from various places online. Everyone can say Hare Krishna. Let them see who's saying Hare Krishna. Say Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
The index of word of Bhagavad is
The what?
Is the index of word of Bhagavad.
The index for the Bhagavat? Yes, it's available. You can ask Shamya Pras. He's an expert in these things. Gaur Premanande, Nitai Gaura Haribo, 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 Nitai Gaura Haribo, Nitai Gaura Haribo, 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 Nitai Gaura Haribo. Vanchagopadvrisha Kripasinabhevacha Patitanam Pavanibhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Srila Prabhupada ki, Gaur Bhaktivedanta ki.